G'day. That's what Paul Hogan would say, but he's not here, but we're here today representing the John Elliott report, but more importantly one of our major sponsors, the Broo Premium Lager, the second largest Australian made beer. Kent Grogan, you got to say he might be a knocker like Paul Hogan, but he's the guy behind it. And we're fortunate enough today at University Café in Lygon Street doing a special Australia Day promotion to revisit as to why we celebrate Australia Day. We got the Broo beer and of course a bit of pig's arse here, the Aussie Flag in the appropriate end of the business. Today we're going through a range of specials with an Australian flavour in an Italian restaurant. But as we've seen before, Carlton, and in particular Little Italy, is a sign of what Australia has done to the multicultural development in terms of how our demographics have changed. So we're looking forward to an interesting day of talking to some of the management staff of the University Café. But more importantly, we're going to reflect on life as to why we're here, and it's a day of beer. And it's interesting that Maggie Beer, the famous chef and recipe and food producer of the Barossa Valley, got an Australian Day gong, but also it's a brew day, and we will enjoy it as we go forward. So watch with interest as the day unfolds, and wherever you are in Australia, cheers. For University Café, Lygon Street, Australia Day, and Brett, thanks for letting us come along and promote a bit of brew and Australia Day thing.
It's been a pleasure, we're having fun.
And I noticed that you were very parochial in introducing a bit of Australian flavour to the normally Italian recipe of pork sausages, Sam Kekovich lamb chops.
Indeed, we thought we'd have a bit of fun today and certainly add an element on our specials list.
Yeah.
So what have we got? We've got the pork sausages with onion gravy and mashed potato.
I had them, they were beautiful.
Good to hear.
No Australian homemade tomato sauce though.
No, but if you, which dish? In the crumbed lamb cutlets, we had a nice tomato and onion bake that goes with that.
Was that a courtesy of the Australian Land Board, was it, or Mr. Kekovich?
No, they actually went a little bit upmarket this year.
Did they?
And we thought it was important to bring it back to Australian roots.
Right.
I mean, what has Barbie got to do, you know, Barbie girl, got to do with Australian lamb?
Oh.
Anyway.
You had corned beef, which
we had corned beef.
very unusual.
That's a good Aussie dish.
I know that, but for a Lygon, the only place he used to, I think he still does, is down at Jimmy Watson.
Dessert, we've got pavlova and port wine trifle.
Yeah, how much you sold of that?
We've actually gone through very nicely today.
Well, there you go.
It's moving through. People are getting in the swing of it. It's absolutely fantastic.
So tell me how long you've been involved with the University Café group? I mean, you're a joint manager, joint owner?
Yes. I first became involved back in the early 80s, essentially just helping out of school, and then moved over and did a lot more work. I had a full-time job during the day and essentially worked full-time at night and weekends, and then this sort of took over more and more, and many years later I've been here a lifetime.
Well, there you go. Well, I guess Harry's, it helps to marry the boss's daughter.
It does indeed, it does indeed.
But what does Australia Day mean to you? You told me before you got a bit of a Dutch ascendancy there.
Well, in the background.
Yeah, in the background.
Born and bred in Australia.
Yeah.
Look, Australia Day has always been a hot day. It's always been a day to do your own thing. Yeah. For us, as kids, we would get out there and go to the beach. We lived down in the beach area, so that was great. Barbecues, just hanging out, getting a few people together, and essentially it's been Australia Day for us. It's that relaxing day to just get together with family and stuff.
Well, it's very interesting if you read today's newspapers. I mean, I don't read the Herald Sun because I think that's just a really social grab, but the age in Australia, it sort of always come out with editorials, what does Australia Day mean, and multiculturalism. And you've got to say, at Carlton, it's probably the whole area since post-war has been a key driver or feature of Australia becoming a multicultural.
Well, Lygon Street has been an interesting area. When the Italians first came in the early 50s, they occupied an area in North Melbourne, but it was a fairly finite geographic space that they had there, and they started to outgrow that area fairly quickly. And really the next slum area, for want of a better term, that was around was essentially Lygon Street, Carlton, which was until that time a Jewish area. So as the Jewish folk earned a bit of coin, they moved out to Caulfield and so forth, and the Italians started to move in and take their place here. So the Italians have really, since probably the mid-50s, made Lygon Street their place. University Café opened up in 1952. And this year we celebrate our 60th anniversary.
Well, it'll be a big year. You've done.
So, well, it will be a big year.
You've done a lot of planning for a big anniversary function.
We have our PR people working feverishly at the
moment. I thought you were in charge of that. So, what changes have you seen, perhaps the last 20 years?
Look, probably
positive and negative.
Probably one of the more humorous changes is back in the 90s, you used to have the boys in their fast cars doing circuits up and down the street,
the drags,
and doing the drags and all the noise and so forth. And then it sort of died away. We've noticed in recent year or two, on a really nicely warm Saturday night, you'll see guys in their Ferraris or Harleys doing the same thing. You'll have a look at them and you'll realise that it's probably the same blokes who are now in their late 40s, early 50s, who have a bit of money, who can afford the Ferrari and the...
despite the 40k limit.
Despite the 40k limit. No, but it's changed enormously over the years. I think we're more of a mature age street now. You look at our client base and we've moved on from the young people that used to frequent the pinball parlours and so forth along Lygon Street, and now we're more of a mature age street. Well, that's the natural cycle of things.
Well, I mean, always said Carlton's a fascinating place. I lived here for 14 years and it's taken a while to sort of become assimilated. But living in a university town and a very mixed demographic and culture, though, creates a lot of entertainment, doesn't it? You've got to sit here for a couple of hours.
It does.
It's better than watching television.
Yes, and there's quite a street parade. Watching people is a great pastime, and I know that you enjoy it from the corner position there on occasion.
Well, you've got to be a bit observant. I'm trying to help your staff, become a bit more user-friendly. But you've got a very mixed, I call it ethnic base on your staff too. You're sort of helping the overseas visitors or visa holders get a bit of work.
We certainly move through them quite nicely. But the university students still make it down to Lygon Street. Not probably in the quantity that they used to, because there's now an enormous tram stop, which creates an enormous buffer between us and the university. But no, it's... Look, I think in the next 5 years we'll start to see a resurgence along Lygon Street. We've gone through our older phase, and I'm sure that there's room now for a lot of younger people to start moving back into the strip and giving it a real oomph and shot in the arm.
Well, I guess Carlton's got, if they win a premiership flag, that might sort of help bring out a bit of it.
Well, just on that, let me send a message to the Carlton management. Years ago, we used to have the Carlton players up and down Lygon Street as part of the community. And I've raised this with a number of people at Carlton, and Carlton is devoid of Carlton players nowadays. They don't include themselves. Absolutely, they don't include themselves as part of the community anymore. They used to dine here, or they'd go across the road to Dimmers, or they'd go down the road for a pizza, but they're around the community. And it just created such a feeling of well-being towards the club, towards AFL in general. And look, we really miss the those days when they were around.
very important while we talk about that. We're going to give John Elliott a bit of a try to pre-launch the AFL
Absolutely.
at a function in your upstairs function room before the first game of the year, so that might that might be a bit of a revival.
We would love to see a few of the
we're hoping
the young guns come along and be seen along the strip. Not just here, but right along the strip would be great for the club and the community.
Really good. They had one of their merchandise shops over there, which they've now taken away. But anyway, Brett, thanks for having us here today.
Thank you very much.
And looking after me over the last 12 months whilst I've set up shop in Lygon.
Look, thank you very much. We've had a lovely day, and it's just fun to do something a little bit different.
And to Broo, well, he's having a crack, as all Australians should do, and
absolutely.
Thanks very much, and to all your friendly staff, and some of those we'll interview shortly.
Thank you, Peter.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you.